Hello, beautiful humans. You are here to think out loud with me. I'm Natalie Peterson, casting in from my little neck of the woods in northern Colorado to you in yours, wherever and whenever that might be. This little digital adventure is my way of turning years of internal chatter, wondering, silent suffering, and a darn few many physical and mental close calls into enlightening and empowering conversations with others. Oh my goodness gracious, I love this time of year. Fall is the season of release. It is a time when nature is letting go and it's in preparation for renewal, months away, but renewal nonetheless. Trees are letting their leaves go, and there's just this vibrancy of color. It's like a final burst of life before everything goes to sleep in winter. And it's been fun this morning, the cool breeze, being able to open my window and the breeze that's coming through. It's like carrying away what's no longer needed. And it's reminding me that it's a natural part of growth, right? It's a time of reflection and letting go of past burdens and preparing for new beginnings. And nature has this absolutely stunning way of teaching us, what it means to pare down to the essentials. And in the leaves and the temperatures falling, there's this really sweet, gentle reminder, this nudge by the universe that we as humans are encouraged to simplify and to embrace change as an opportunity for making room for what's coming in a next cycle of life. Which leads me to thinking about spiritual release and the act of letting go of emotional and mental and spiritual burdens to find inner peace and to find clarity and to make room. It involves releasing attachments to hurt and fear and self-limiting beliefs that have been weighing us down for a little bit or since before we can remember, so that we can create space for healing and transformation and ultimately growth. Spiritual release, I feel like, frees us from this illusion of control that we think we have and the need for perfection. And it allows us to truly trust in the flow of life. And when we surrender to the divine and to our higher selves and a higher consciousness and a connection, we're opening ourselves up to receive new and to receive new levels of joy and emotion and connection with others, and especially the universe. So there's this endeavor of release. It's so much more than just objects. There's expectations and relationships and identities and ideas and beliefs. And there's an interesting connection still between releasing these and letting go of actual stuff. Capital S stuff, AKA, how did I get all this shit? Where did all this shit come from? Holy crap. Where am I going to put this shit? Do I really need this shit? This beautiful fall morning, I'm spending time on this topic with Cris Alsum. Pronouns, she, her, and founder of Simply Alsum Organizing. That's fun to hear. Cris is a wife and mom of two young adult daughters, and she spent most of her career in various office administration roles, the doer, I'm going to imagine. And she's parlayed her passion for serving others, for doing and doing it well, for simplifying systems and managing details into a brand new book and a purpose behind Simply Alsum Organizing. Her book is called Lighten the Load, a step-by-step plan for decluttering and downsizing. She's also a self-proclaimed planner nerd. I love that. And could talk about time management and planners all day long. I'm finding my planner. Here's one spiral bound. Here's another spiral bound. We are sisters in the planners all day long. Say hi to everyone, Cris. Welcome. She's piping in from a hotel, adorable little hotel in Creede, Colorado, to join me this morning. Hi, Cris.
Hi, Natalie. It's great to be here.
Ah, you have landed in Creede, Colorado. Tell me why, and thank goodness they have Wi-Fi.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm in a hotel that was built in the late 1800s and it's a little wonky but adorable. I'm here because my husband is an airline pilot, and this is God's joke on me that I'm a planner and I can plan a month at a time because I get a schedule a month at a time. But we get 2 weeks out of the year that we know that he's off. And so this is one of our weeks. And we love to go off-roading. We have a Bronco, and it's just our way of getting away. So we are off in the San Juan Mountains, just having a blast. And I love what you said about release and fall and this for us right now in our relationship, this is like a beautiful time for us to really connect and kind of reorient. And we're kind of entering empty nest. And what do we want the next chapter to look like? And it's just been a glorious time away together.
Then you're able to just bump along in your Bronco. I've got this vision of you and the conversation and the ideas that are in the quiet, but also just the brilliance of things. It gives you a chance to really connect as two individuals,
Yep.
as partners. That's
Yep. Our
so
anniversary is in next week. And
cool.
so we always like to get away, but we've been like listening to podcasts and talking about stuff. Like we've been married 27 years and we're talking about things we've never talked about. It's like it's never too late to continue to grow and get deeper in relationships. So it's wonderful.
Yeah. When you talk about this kind of new chapter in your relationship, even after 27 years, you're turning a page into, is it empty nest stuff? It's like, what do we want to do next?
Yeah, because we're kind of sandwiched. We've got three elderly parents between us, and one daughter's kind of launched in on her own. She lives in Grand Junction, and second one struggling with some stuff. She's only 20, but she lives in our basement, working full time, but really having some hard times. So we're kind of still parenting and figuring out what letting go looks like, and also enjoying a little bit of freedom
Hmm.
together.
Yeah, very cool. And two, I just want to recognize finding a best friend and having um, that that deep connection. Before we hit record, I was able to say adios to him as he went to go change a flat tire. But I just, yeah, reflecting to you just what a beautiful relationship that you two have, that you can still go out and adventure. And that's really cool. Really
Thanks.
cool.
We're very thankful.
So, this new book that you have just authored is fantastic. Lighten the Load, a step-by-step plan you have taken. I'm imagining you as a young person, and tell me about your personality, because how you've done everything is anything is how you've done everything your entire life, I would imagine. Can you tell me about the young Cris? And I want to get some backstory on, like leading up to this cool book that you just put out into the world.
Sure. Yeah, I think I just always been wanting order. And I'm sure there's some level of needing control in there. We all have our reasons why we do what we do. But I mean, I remember from fourth grade, I got my first planner and started writing things down. I would spend
A
Saturday
trapper
afternoon.
keeper.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I remember distinctly spending Saturday afternoons rearranging my room and just like I was not a normal kid. I like to plan. I like to organize. I like things in boxes. And like I said, I'm sure it's a control thing. And my mom was a secretary. She was very organized. She kind of did her thing, but she also did it on her own. She's like, I got this. She didn't teach me how to do stuff. I just witnessed her managing and dealing with things. So
Yeah. I remember I lived out in Southern California for a little while, and I remember when the Container Store hit. Boom!
yeah.
I remember my first trip to the Container Store and walking in and my mouth just hitting the floor, thinking, have they lost their mind on the one hand? And then, this is a mecca.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. I didn't even know that there's organizing of my organized stuff. Like I could put containers inside of containers inside of containers.
Yeah.
What a fantastic store. I don't know. Are they still around?
Oh, for sure.
They
Yeah,
have to be. They
they
have
are. Yeah. My experience though, I grew up on the East Coast and my grandma lived in Philadelphia. And I remember when we would go to Philadelphia, we went to IKEA. And that was my
Mhm.
first, like all these little apartments and everything had its place. And oh, so great.
There's also something to be said about how much stuff that we have to put in these little boxes and these containers. And like, I just recently moved to a new, I actually moved to Loveland from Fort Collins. And in making the move, we downsized.
Oh, good for you. I was
I
one of the
know.
people that downsized.
It was not easy. And it sounds silly when I say it. It totally sounds silly because the downsize was, I mean, we were living in a house that was way too big for us. It was, and we didn't need all that space. And good grief, the vacuuming alone was enough to make you want to just like give it all up. Um, I say that being really grateful for we didn't move by choice. The man we were renting from decided to sell. And so we said, okay, this is our chance we don't need all this space. This is ridiculous. So let's look for a smaller footprint. So when we found the space that we are in, which is awesome, we gave up a basement and we gave up a garage bay.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of space
It is a lot of space.
of storage of maybe things
Of
you don't want.
storage of shit.
Yes.
So then, do we want to move all of these piles of shit that do we really need? So back to where I opened with this, it was like, when did we even get all this crap? Like, and it was great in the moment, the massive floating raft that held 15 people for Horsetooth that we used once, right? And the tools and the just everything that had accumulated in these, specifically this garage space and the basement, that hadn't been touched in so long. And really the process. So I want to dig in and think about just you know, this concept of letting go, and the reality that there is the actual physical stuff, and then there's the connection to this stuff that we have, via emotions and relationships. It's antiques, it's gifts from people, it's things that even though we can't stand the person, if we saw them on the sidewalk, we'd cross to the other side. But dang it, that little piece of a memory, I just can't give it up. It's the sweater I have no business wearing. Um, so I want to get into the juice of this with you and think like, so talk to me about um, just the overall concept of letting go and declutter and your own kind of broad thinking on the topic of how much stuff we have and the necessariness, if there's such a word, of decluttering,
Mm-hmm.
downsizing.
Oh, everybody's different. And I want to acknowledge that. And even people's organizing styles are different. And I understand that. And I understand that there's trauma tied to things. I'm actually just starting to read a book, written by a couple of coaches who really tie the direct link between trauma and clutter. And it's like, oh, well, that is huge. And I can't wait to read it so I can use it to serve my clients. But anyway, um, I can't relax in a cluttered space. So that is such a priority to me that that's kind of how I'm wired. And that's why I want my home to be a certain way. But I recognize other people, and I'll talk about my parents because they're really the catalyst for this book and my passion for this. Their journey started really different. They were both raised pretty poor. And so things had value. And then they spent their life traveling the world. They lived overseas for many years, collecting antiques and things that was their identity, was their stuff and their history of travel. Um, and so they didn't want to get rid of anything because that was their identity. And so I honor that, but I also recognize when you're 85 and falling down the stairs and can't live in your house anymore, you can't keep all that stuff and you can't actually live there anymore. So, I mean, it is layer upon layer of me wanting to help them with my skill set, them resisting until it became an emergency, and then a rapid move that was really painful. So I don't know if that's helpful, but you can ask me more questions, but we'll start there.
I love it. So necessity drove it, which I think is not uncommon. I want to, yes, I want to say yes to the generational differences. There's a book called The Fourth Turning. Have you ever heard of The Fourth Turning? It talks about every 4 generations repeat themselves in terms of the age that we are born into and the age in which we come of age. And so I relate to what you're saying about your older parents. My mom just passed away. It'll be a year at the end of this month. And I hadn't done a lot of visiting in the years following up. Her death was a surprise. Walking into her house, Cris, I was shocked at the level. She was always, I grew up with parents that there was clutter, and I was the same. My room, nice and tidy, right? And I was the one cleaning the kitchen or making, I'd even clean my brother's room. That's a whole nother podcast, what I would find in my brother's room. For whatever reason, I was compelled to clean it. But I remember walking in that after we got back, this is outside of Memphis, and my brother and I, as that happens when someone passes and you walk in for that first moment and you look around and you think, and that person is not there and you've got their stuff.
Yeah.
And there's so much stuff. And there's a spirit, there was an emotional, there was an actual visceral reaction to things that, I recorded it. I walked around in this family home and it completely took over. The day was just spent in this state of, what in the hell are we going to do with all this stuff? And then crying because there's all this stuff. And then, do you remember this? Sitting on the floor for an hour and going through wow, stuff.
Yep.
You talk about the don't wait too long thinking.
Yep.
We can't know when we're going to leave this world. My mom didn't anticipate going. She always talked about getting rid of stuff, and she just never did. My brother and I butted heads with her about the amount of stuff that could turn into our stuff.
Right.
Right. And yet here we are. Talk to me about don't wait too long and what's involved in that line of thinking.
Sure. So, like I said, my parents were in their mid 80s when they finally moved, and their attitude had been, I want to die in my house. Well, everybody wants to die in their house. They don't want to move. This is hard work. But because they had waited so long, they couldn't go to the basement anymore. So they had a basement full of stuff that all of a sudden, when you're thinking about the end of your life and you're aging and now you have to leave your home, everything feels precious, but it can't be precious when you don't have time. We moved my parents in 3 weeks out of a house they'd lived in 40 years. It was horrific. So I'm so passionate about don't wait too long. That's what I wanted to call the book, but my editor said it was a little too negative. So that's why I called it Lighten the Load. But don't wait too long is my passionate battle cry, because what's most important to me, and I think I would challenge people to consider maybe most important, is the relationships, not the stuff. So in that, there's value in the memories and some of the items, but not all of them. So what I want people to consider about not waiting too long is find the things that are really important and share with your family why this is so important. they care more about you than about the contents of your home, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'll give an example. My parents had this beautiful set of china, 12 place settings, every possible piece and specialty piece and all the things. And my parents loved to entertain. So they would throw parties, we would use the china. It was beautiful. They bought it when my folks lived in Europe. My dad would go to England and he'd pick up a place setting every time he went, bring it back to Germany. So they completed their whole set, this spode cobalt. It's beautiful, right?
Sounds beautiful.
Well, and what it came down to me is, everybody says nobody wants my china. I hear that from clients all the time. Nobody wants my china. That's true. People don't want your china and it's not worth anything. And I'm really sorry, but that's the hard truth, right? But I wanted to honor my parents and I have that gift for hospitality too, but I don't have fancy parties. So what I chose to do is I took 3 size, all the plates. So the dinner plates, the salad plates, the dessert plates, 12 of each.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I took.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever we have friends over or just on a Wednesday eating pizza or burgers or whatever, we eat on that china.
Mm-hmm.
Because I inherited their sense of hospitality, having friends over. That is what matters. Not
Mm-hmm.
having a beautiful china cabinet full of pieces I will never touch that I'm worried they'll break. We don't want to use them because they'll break. I'm like, I've got 12 of 3 sizes. Like, I don't care if I break them. I put them in the dishwasher. Like, we use them because hospitality and relationships matter more than a set of china. So anyway, that's
I
just one
like that. I like that. And I fully subscribe to that idea. Absolutely. Yeah, I think the title of this podcast is officially Nobody Wants Your China.
right. Right.
Because I don't. For me, it's this massive Victorian bedroom set that's now mine.
Mm.
What do you mean you don't want it? What do you mean I don't want it? No, I don't want it. Where in the living hell do you think I'm going to put
Mhm.
a queen size Victorian massive headboard marble top?
Right.
Can't do,
Right.
not going to do it, right?
Yeah. And how do you separate the stuff from the person?
Yep.
So we moved my parents in January of 2022. That September, my dad had a major health crisis and we almost lost him.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is just months after this really traumatic, big, giant move. And we're sitting with dad in the hospital and we're like, Dad, remember all those things that you were so upset about?
Mm-hmm.
Does it matter now? You're in a hospital bed. You might be dying. You've got your wife and your 2 of your 3 kids beside you. And I bet right now you're not thinking about stuff from the house that didn't make the move.
Mm-hmm.
This is what matters.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we don't always get that chance to plan, when you're going to die and thankfully he lived, by the way. We literally pulled the plug on my dad and he didn't die. He's amazing. He's 88 now.
Shout out to Dad.
I know.
Goodness.
Anyway, so
Not his time. That's like the epitome of not my time.
for
You can pull
sure,
that plug, not my time.
we knew his wishes. He wouldn't want to be hooked up to tubes and hoses and all that. So we're like, they can't do more surgery. We'll unhook him. And he didn't die. So anyway, that's just a success story for my dad. So glad. But the don't wait too long is at that same year that we moved them, we had the opportunity to move into a house that's on 1 level. And that was the big sticking point with my parents' house. The bedroom and the only full bath was upstairs.
Mm.
We had the opportunity, and I get it. That is a huge privilege to be able to move into a house, but we took it at age 50-ish to move into 1 level. So if we choose to age in place, we're in a place where we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just thinking ahead, or what
Mm-hmm.
is the plan? And sometimes that's a financial plan that you need time to put a financial plan in place to be able, I want to live at home. So that means I need to save I want to have the house paid off and have enough money to pay for in-home care. Or if I have to move to someplace else, how much does that cost? There's finances involved, but the big part for me, I want to just stress is separating the person from the stuff. Just because I don't want your things, like my parents were so hurt. I don't want all their things. I'm like, I love you guys, but I don't love the stuff is not you. I want to spend time with you. And now my dad will say, while his body's falling apart and he's not very happy about living in a small apartment and assisted living and all that, I get it. But the words he said recently on a visit was, I'm living a carefree life. I said,
Mm,
that is what you should be doing at 88 and
yes.
at 75 and at 60, living a carefree life because you're not burdened by a house and the pipes and the yard and the shoveling and, so anyway, I just want people to be free to focus on relationships and what their calling might be and not be drowning in their stuff and get paralyzed.
You have found this is fantastic of you to not only be walking this with in your own life, but to be able to then parlay it into helping like, sometimes I think the difficulty just recognizing the very, very, very deep layers of emotion that are involved in stuff because it goes back generation, this China is generations. It represents a marriage, it represents travel and adventure and all of these things, just using China as the example, that to let it go requires a process, a release that is not just of stuff, but it's also of emotional, mental, relational, familial, and an obligation. There's obligatory threads that bind us, right?
Yeah.
Because this was my great great grandfather's, there is an obligation that and so you being able to I'm such a fan of communicating about what we're trying to do, right? And being a voice of gentle reason. There's not condescension, there's not an I told you so, or I'm gonna tell you how to do it kind of thing. This is here's the reality of what we're dealing with,
Yeah.
right? I fully respect the story of this. How do we boil this down to truly what matters? And you, Cris, having the patience and the knowing to guide in those relationships between ourselves and our stuff.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that your clients um, have a deep, deep sense of appreciation for the relationship that they develop with you. I mean, they have to be vulnerable. They
It
have
is.
to show you a
That's
side of themselves that's
It is. I mean, people are so nervous, but I just celebrate them. The fact that you picked up the phone or sent an email to reach out to a professional organizer, that is a bold move. So I always start with celebrating that and then just helping them get back to what matters most. What matters most in your life, what matters most in your home, what matters most in your schedule. And unfortunately, I see too many clients, by the time they call me, they're kind of over their stuff, but they're also their bodies can't do the work of like at this point I don't care about my stuff. And so I wish they would come
mm,
to that place sooner. Not that they don't care about their stuff, but that they could go through the memories with their kids and have the time to do it with them versus like you said, walking into the empty house and having to deal with it. Plus you're grieving the loss.
mhm,
So I told my dad that, you want to stay in this house, that's great. But someday you're going to fall down the stairs, which you already have. So then you're going to be dead at the bottom of the stairs. I'm like painting a picture. Mom's going to find you. Her husband's dead. And we still have to do all this work and grieve your loss at the same time. How
mhm,
about we kind of work through that in a different way so that our relationship is good? We know the things that are important. We know your stories. I mean, he's been writing stories, recording. I'm typing it up. Like, I want to remember his life. I don't
mhm.
want to sit in a basement and spend 4 weeks going through all his crap that he didn't have care to deal with I said, you lived in this house 20 years retired and you didn't go through your stuff. So I'm sorry, but I don't have time now to be all sentimental and take the time to do it. I mean, I booked a one-way ticket and I went for 3 weeks and we got them moved and then I was done. I had to pay a company to clean out the rest of the house because we didn't have the luxury of time. So that's another reason. I don't want people to wait too long. Because when you have to make a move in 3 weeks, oofta, that was, I don't want people to go through that.
Yeah, yeah. There's it's interesting to me that we don't want to, we just put it off. We
Yeah.
just
It's
put
easier
it,
not to. And I tell people that all the time. I understand. It's easier not to.
yeah,
But that doesn't mean you don't.
yeah. I mean, sitting here going in on to 50 here in a couple months, and yeah, like, don't wait too long. And why wait until 30 years from now to be like, okay, now I'm done? Like, why not now? It's an interesting. I drive through this new neighborhood. It's been a few months and but I couldn't figure out for the longest time why it felt a little more cramped, and I realized what it was. Not only are the streets slightly smaller, but nobody parks in their garage.
Yeah. So many cars out because their garages are full of stuff.
Garage is full of stuff,
Yep.
right? Garage sales. We buy stuff to have garage sales. We right. It's
We spend money on storage units
and
because we can't deal. We don't want to.
don't even get me started on storage units. And buying storage units after someone has passed and rolling up the door and being like, holy crap. And holy crap,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? Wow. You have a what I know what I'm realizing about you, getting to know you over the last half hour or so, is that you have a very systematic approach that is softened with who you are as a human being. And there was one piece in particular as I was preparing for this morning that I loved. You have an acronym that I just want to, if we leave anybody with anything, I love this acronym, SORT. And so I thought, let's give the 4 minute overview, a minute per letter, to leave folks listening with this concept that I think I could walk away after I hit stop recording on this and go downstairs and start implementing myself. Tell me about sort.
Oh, yeah. This is the method I use with everybody. That's the first thing I teach somebody who, when they're going to start this process. Because some people want to organize, but you can't organize if you have too much stuff, right? So we got to sort through our things. So start with S is save. So say we're in the kitchen and you pick up an item and you're like, okay, this is the egg beater. I'm saving that. It lives in the kitchen. It goes in the save pile. Okay. Um, so it's an item that you want to keep and you want to keep it in this space. So that's save. O is offload. You're like, this is leaving my house, whether you're going to try to sell it, which I don't encourage people to spend a lot of time figuring out how to sell stuff because it's not worth it. I'd rather give it away, let somebody find it at a thrift store and be blessed by getting a deal on something. Just let it go. So offload is it's leaving the house. So you're donating it, you're selling it, whatever. Or you're offering it to your kids. If it's something you want to give them first right of refusal, I'm all for that. Like, let your kids have a chance, but also don't make your gift be a burden. Like, if they don't want it, don't give them a hard time about that. It's it doesn't mean they don't love you if they don't want your things.
Don't take it personally.
Don't take it personally. It is, yeah. And that's the other gift I have of my role is I'm not their kid, but I can say the thing their kid is thinking because I've been that kid.
Mhm,
So,
mhm, mhm,
and okay, so save, offload. R is relocate. Relocate is like, I want to keep it, but it doesn't live in the kitchen. So I
mhm.
always have a box or an area where we're sorting. And the key to relocate is don't go take it there right then because you will totally derail your process. Whether you set a timer and you're going to spend 15 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour or a day in a room, don't leave the room. Just put it in the relocate pile. You'll deal with it later. And then T is for trash. Like if you decide it's trash, let it leave the house. It's okay. I mean, we want to repurpose and recycle, and I'm all for that. But sometimes you just need to throw stuff in the trash. And I always say use a black trash bag because once something has gone to the trash, you don't see it again. You don't go back in there. It's gone. And it's okay. The world will not end if you threw something that might have been something, even if it was valuable. Oh, well, did it lighten your load? That's valuable too.
Mm, I
So that
love it.
save, offload, relocate, and trash.
I love it. Gosh. And I love the concept, like the relocate part, because that's how garages get full. Oops, we can't park in here anymore.
Yeah, relocate doesn't mean just stuff everything somewhere else forever, because eventually you've got to go through all your spaces. So,
There's
and it's
another,
okay if there's a dumping ground for a while. Just
right.
start with the most highest priority area. A lot of times it's the kitchen or the entry or the living room. Like I need a place, or the bed master or the main bedroom. Like I just need a sanctuary, or I just need my counters cleared off so I can face the morning and just have coffee and not have a mess, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the value of that peace of mind, like actually having the conversation of, like with tea of trash, like what's more valuable to you here? Is it your peace of mind and being able to come into a space that's clean and clear of clutter, or is it the holding on, right?
Yeah.
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 Gosh, we can do a whole nother cast on the concept of selling. Well, but I paid so much for it, and but yeah, it could be somebody else's treasure.
Yep.
You could be, there's an act of service even involved that by donating and helping somebody else.
You bet. In fact, on my social media, I often put up simply awesome opportunities. So if I see like, oh, the library is collecting books or this charity is collecting coats, like I share those because I think either you're in my area in Loveland, Northern Colorado, whatever, you could take stuff, or I'll offer to pick it up. Or if you live somewhere else, think about there's probably organizations in your area that are collecting these things. It might be just a trigger to be like, oh yeah, you could clean out the coat closet, and then you're blessing somebody.
I love that. Very cool. So, which is an easy way to plug your if somebody's listening and they want to understand more about what you do or just connect with you in general, Simply Alsum, ALSUM.com, which I adore. The very nearness to awesome is I love the way your brain thinks. You are on Facebook at Simply Alsum Organizing and on Instagram at Simply Alsum, again, ALSUM. Lighten the Load is on Amazon and is just a click away. And I would love for you to share so you do one-on-ones, you do group, you are available for presentations and speaking and thinking out loud with people in group settings or special clubs or what have you. Are you working on anything in particular that you want to shout out to folks that may be local or could join you digitally?
Sure. Yeah, as I'm kind of shifting my business a little bit more towards coaching and less towards like lots of hands-on, like I've cleaned out a lot of houses and I'm
Mhm.
taking a little pause from that. I want to get people started. My favorite thing is to go in, do an assessment, write up someone a plan, and then offer any kind of accountability. That's the one thing people need. They need a plan to get started and accountability. So that is my wheelhouse. I'm also starting some in-person free support groups for people that are on this journey and just want to kind of talk about it. Because
Mm.
whenever I talk to people, people want to talk about it. They want to talk about their parents' house. They want to talk about their house. They want to talk about it. So I want to make a space for that. So again, that would be on my social media. If you're in Northern Colorado, interested in a in-person chance to just sit around a cup of coffee or a beer and talk about this, I'm going to be offering that. I do speak to groups about organizing and about downsizing. I have a couple different workshops that I love to just talk to people, help just a spark. This
Mm.
isn't rocket science, but
Mm.
sometimes you need a spark. And, and then again, offering accountability. I love to just help people like check in. How's it going? Where are you stuck? Um, and then also be a resource for curating other people who have different specialties. Like there are people that have specialties. Again, like there's this new book I just got that I'm reading that links trauma and clutter. It's called Put That Stuff Down, like PTSD.
Mhm.
Um,
Mm.
I have another woman who I follow who is a time management and productivity expert. So if that's kind of where you're stuck, like my days slip away and I'm not. So I just try to network people. I'm a connector by nature. So if I hear something, I want to share it. So
Yeah,
I just want to point people to the experts that can help them with their specific needs.
yeah. That must have been what connected us, was the connector in the two of us,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
that like our little connecting hearts saw each other and they were like, bing, 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 bing.
Yep.
Connect, and then we can connect more people to connect and connect and connect. I'm also like, I have this vision of you as soon as you say, hi, I'm Cris Alsum, and I, this is my passion is to help people lighten the load, that immediately, like, can I talk to you? Yeah, like somebody pulling you aside. Oh my goodness, can I talk to you about, like, and that it just starts just flowing. So it's out there, and I cannot imagine that there is in an end anywhere in sight, as we, the bigger world that we live in is very much consumerism and stuff oriented. So
Yep.
you are a gift, and absolute, a heart high five, if you will, for you living your passion. And just, yeah, I love meeting people that are, they get themselves, and then they give themselves, and that's a really big deal. So thank you.
Speaking of giving, can I just share one other thing is
Yes, please.
the book is actually a workbook. It has like actual worksheets of action steps. And I have all those downloadable for free on my website. If you just want to like take a look at those, just the worksheets, go to simplyawesome.com. There's a Lighten the Load tab and you can download those for free. It includes the sort method is part of
Yes.
that. And I just want to give that away for people that just need some focus and like a roadmap.
Yeah. Just give it a chance, right? Just give the idea a chance. I appreciate that so much, and I appreciate you. Thank you for taking time out of your adventure and down in the San Juans. I actually grew up in Durango, and so
Wow.
you're getting kind of close to my neck of the woods, and it's beautiful. It's such a beautiful time of year, as fall and winter are just around the corner, and the leaves, and just, yeah, the adventure of it. So thank you for stopping for a minute to think out loud with me. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. It's been a delight.
Awesome. And I want to thank everyone listening, whether it's today, tomorrow, whenever this cast hits your ears. Thank you for thinking out loud with me and today's guest, Cris Alsum. Given how many choices you have to spend your time, it is not lost on me that time is our most valuable asset, and I am incredibly honored that you've chosen to spend it with me. Until we visit again, go live with love and intention. And please, 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 as I like to say, kiddos, cover your ears. Don't let anyone fuck with your flow. Big hugs, big love. Bye, friends.